So now I'm going to do a focus on the financial statement. So this is quite important point during the agenda today. So I hope that you all had the opportunity to look at the document we put on the website showing the details of the account. So I'm not going to explain line per line the document you have on the website. I'm going to show the outlines so that even if you are not an accountant specialist, you will be able to see the main lines and to understand the main lines of such document. So I will start with a sales overview so that you will have an idea of the growth of the money we collected through the members, thanks to their connection to our exchange. I will show you the operating expenses, and I will then focus on the working capital because this is quite an important point. And for those who are not used with the English terms, I will also use the French term so that even the French speakers can understand what I'm talking about. And I will also talk about the cash and treasury we have and how we plan to improve this element. And I will also focus on inventory and the stock we have. And finally, I will put the main outlines from the account so that I make sure you understand all the basics and all the elements we wanted to show today. So just to start, globally, the increase of sales we had this year was globally the same increase as last year. Last year, we were globally 16 to 17% of increase in terms of sales. We have the same ratio. In practice, we do expect to have a much larger ratio for next year because, in fact, there is the dates you use to close the accounts. You know, we close the accounts on the 13th of June, but on my side, I do my budget from 1st of January to 31 of December. So we have done some sales in January. Some members are paying annually. So, of course, the percentage of the money collected is considered till 30th of June. So we know that we have collected, you see, 1,400,000 euros. But what is considered till 30th of June is 1,100,000 globally, because we invoice some members annually and some members quarterly. So for the members that are paying quarterly, then we count the money till 30th of June, and for the one paying annually, we take half of the payment to integrate that in the accounts. That's why you have the difference between the total invoice and the sales. It does not mean that the people are not paying the invoice. It just means that we are taking the ratio compared to the invoice we have generated. But I will talk about the people that are not paying later on, don't worry. So also to take into account, as announced last year, we had decided on the 1st of October last year to decrease the price of the 10 gig. The 10 gig is globally what is making front sales possible. What I want to mean is that, of course, the members 1 gig are paying 500 euro per month, for instance, but globally, the main money is collected from the 10 gig players. And so it means that when you decrease the price of the 10 gig port, automatically you have less money collected by the exchange. We knew it was the case, and we expected to 100K less in the account. But it was globally compensated by additional sales. Because you can say, of course, if you don't lower down the price, you collect more money. On the short term, yes. On the longer term, no. Because maybe some people are finding that it's too expensive, and instead of upgrading, they prefer to saturate their port or to remove some peerings when they have saturation on the port. So the idea is not to have congestion on front SIX and to encourage people having very high level of traffic on their port to upgrade and not to shut down peerings, just to make sure that they still have available space on the port. And it globally worked. We launched a campaign to have additional members related to the decrease of prices, and globally it worked. So we could not say that if we hadn't decreased the price, we would have collected money. Globally, I consider that it's a positive point. And it's also a strategy to collect and get new members. And if you look at the trend also of the other internet exchange, we knew when we launched France IX that we were a little bit higher than the common other internet exchange. So it was also a good moment to make sure that we are matching the market price. So for next year, I shouldn't take any risk announcing that we should at least have, for the next account, a minimum increase of 25%. Because, in fact, after 30th of June, we managed to have important contracts. And, of course, they are not integrated in these numbers. For instance, you all know that Netflix is connected to France IX, and Netflix is connected to 100 gig. So it's a significant contract for us. And I will be pleased to announce within the next few weeks either some significant upgrade from existing members as well as significant new players on France IX. So we will do some announcement when it's appropriate. But we expect to have very significant increase of traffic before the end of the year. So you see that since 1 week now, almost every day we are around 300 gig and, of traffic. But I do expect to have around 400 gig by the end of the year and much more next year. So globally, the increase of traffic is significant. So that's why I made a special remark regarding the design of the WDM backbone. Because if we have the increase, I do expect, maybe we won't wait 2 years before upgrading the WDM backbone. For the operating expenses, the payroll cost, so globally the cost of the staff, salaries, and so on, we had an increase on this account of 86k euros. So it's globally related to the hiring of new people. And the percentage of this expense in the account is globally stable. It does represent globally half of the money to pay for the salaries. And half of the money to pay salaries is a common number in small entities. It's not specific to France X. If you look at small companies, globally it's a common number to have half of that for salaries. The other expenses are, of course, for equipment, except that this year the expense of equipment was lower. You can tell me, why? You told me that you have bought a lot of equipment for the new backbone and so on, and in the meantime you spend less money. So it's not a matter of we are nice negotiators. It's just that we change the way we spend the money. So till now, France X was buying one shot the equipment. And because of the €1 capital we had when we launched France IX, all the equipment vendors didn't want us to allow delays for the payment. So we had no delays like 30 days or 40 days for payment. We had to pay when we order. And we had no possibility of leasing and so because the accounts of France X, even if we had no debts anymore, were still too weak for the financial guys to validate a leasing. But since 1 year, since we presented the accounts last year, if you remember last year, we have run some small benefits, but at least enough to convince the financial guys from the vendors that we will not pay anymore one shot, but we were acquiring the equipment on a leasing mode. And this is what we have done, for instance, for the Juniper equipment. So we are paying now a monthly rent for the equipment, and it means that when we launch the 100 gig, we will not pay one shot the line cards, but a global rent, which is, of course, preferable because if you know the price of a 100 gig line card, even if we have nice discounts, it's still very high. So it's preferable to have a leasing mode. And the tricky bit was that some vendors that were more specialized in selling optical modules, not equipment, they were not used to provide leasing, because they are considered as small stuff. Even if you buy a lot of them, it does represent a lot of money. They don't have a leasing model to buy optical modules. So what we have done for this type of vendors, we have negotiated long-term delay payment, and you'll see that in the next number I show, so that instead of paying one shot such element, we were paying after 3 months. And this was a special negotiation we had for the vendors that were not capable of providing a leasing mode. So leasing mode for switch routers and delays in payment for the optical modules, because we were buying a lot of them, so the amount is still significant. That's why the number for equipment and so on is not that high. It should have been much higher if we are paying one shot. And anyway, if it was one shot, we could not afford to buy all the equipment we have deployed in the backbone this summer. And so we are going to keep the principle of the leasing mode for all the investment we'll have now in France IX. And the other positive point of that is that when you have a brand new equipment, you can renew easily your equipment and give back the previous one so that you can evolve more easily than then, okay, I have some former equipment, what do? I have to resell them or no? So leasing mode for the core equipment and still work with vendors for the optical stuff to have delays of payment when we buy a lot of optical modules one shot. On our side, for all the other partners we have, and France AX is paying between 20 and 30 days. And I will do a zoom on the delays of the members, because France AX is paying globally, except for the negotiation we had with some vendors. France AX does match the maximum delay of 30 days for the payment. Meanwhile, more and more members are not matching our conditions, so it's not fair. We are not a bank. So ourselves, we are paying our suppliers in the time, but we don't collect in the same time the money from the members. So it does mean that we have to increase our treasury to avoid any issues. But this is not the solution. The solution is that don't forget that you are a member from an association, and you should keep that in mind and make sure you are paying France AX in time. And you'll see that compared to last year, there is an increase of 11 days in the time the members are paying France AX. And this is not normal. This is this slide. So this is working capital. In French, besoin en fonds de roulement. So the working capital is in fact, in that case, the delays you have for the payment and for your own suppliers, and the delay you have to be paid yourself. And it does have an impact on the treasury France AX needs to have. So the working capital is globally around 150K. And it does represent 40-day sales. And I would like to make sure that the working capital is optimized. So as I said, what I call credit is in fact the delay we have to wait to be paid by members has increased by 10 days from 1 year to another. And it means that by the time the treasury that is on France AX account may vary. So you'll see in the next slide that you have the impression, if you compare the money that is on France AX bank account between 30th of June last year and 30th of June this year, that it's pretty stable. But in the middle, you have a lot of variations. And my role is to avoid that the variations become dangerous for the organization. And I consider that we have still efforts on our side to do to improve and optimize the delay to be paid in time. But I really want also to show to the members that I also need some efforts from yourself. Please do not consider France AX as any supplier among your suppliers. don't forget that we are an association. So we need to ensure that the payments are performed on a regular basis. And if you look at the numbers, the variances, supplier payments, so this is the delay Franck CX is using to pay the suppliers. So it's 76 for our case. This is the maximum number. And this is for the vendor with whom we have negotiated 3 months delay for the payment of the optics. But the average number, as I said, is between 20 and 30 days for Franck CX to pay its suppliers. Now for the cash. So globally, as I said, the cash on Franck CX bank account between 2013 and 2014 is globally the same. 167K and 189K. So that was my point. You have the impression that it's stable. But in practice, at some point, we spend a lot of money. We have 300K on Franck CX bank account, and at some time, we have much lower. So I wanted to show you that we have important changes. And if you just look at the numbers, you have the impression that it's stable, but this is not the case. So globally, we have more than 200K of positive flow for operating activities. So this is related to a sale increase, but also because we really try to optimize and monitor the cost. The capitalized investment remain not significant. Already explained, because instead of buying the equipment, we lease them. So you have the impression that we almost stop to buy or stop to invest, but this is not the case. So in the next account I will present next year, you'll see that then the leasing will be important, but it starts in June, the leasing of the equipment for the new backbone, so it's not shown in these numbers. And we have still negative financial flows, mainly to loan we have to reimburse. So I talk about that every year. So just for the new players, we have a loan from Interaction that did help and support Franck CX a lot at its very beginning point. And we had also a loan from Neo Telecom, but since more than 1 year from now, the loan from Neo Telecom has been closed. We reimbursed everything, but we still have ongoing loan from Interaction. So what I plan to do is that for the first time since the creation of Franck CX, the global accounts are positive. I'm not sure about the translation in English, but what I call global accounts is the total of the debt since the beginning. So on the first year of Franck CX, we had a negative net result because we had spent more money to buy some equipment, to hire some people, and so on. So the net result was negative on the first year. It was negative by 350,000 euros, something like that. On the second year, it was positive of 50K. On the third year, it was positive of globally 150K. So I'm summarizing the negative numbers with all the positive numbers that are coming next year. And this year, the positive number is even higher. And it does compensate the negative numbers we had. So it means that now we are in position of being able to negotiate loans directly with banks, which was not the case when we launched Franck CX. No banks wanted to do a loan to Franck CX because they don't understand our job. Internet exchange, what's that? I spend hours with banks explaining that and say, okay, we understand. But at the end, they understand so much your business that they don't want to earn you a loan. So that's why we had to be based on funding members on the first year. Otherwise, Franck CX wouldn't have started. But now we have enough positive numbers, nice accounts, to go back to the bank because the numbers are all positive. And it means that we will be able to renegotiate the loan we had with the funding members, transfer that loan to a bank, and then instead of spending still a lot of money to pay this loan, run it on a longer base so that the reimbursement of the loan will be almost transparent in the global expenses instead of being a significant number. Till now, the debt, the reimbursement of the debt does represent globally 20% of France AX budget. So the idea is to renegotiate that to a bank loan, thanks to the new numbers we have today, and then do a loan for that, close the existing loan, split it on more years, and then use the optimization we will have in the treasury to hire, of course, more people to make sure we can undo the increase of traffic we have and make sure we can develop the services I just explained this morning in my first presentation. So I wanted to do a focus on the stock and inventories. The good news I had from my accountant just yesterday, so it's very fresh information even for myself, is that we have a credit of 100K with VAT. So of course we are paying VAT ourselves less than we used to because for the members that receive our invoices, you can see that we do not apply any VAT on your fees because we ask you to make sure that you pay yourself directly the VAT to the government. But for some points, some other points we are still paying VAT. So we have a credit of 100K of VAT. So there is no reason why the government shall keep this money. So we are going to ask back the money and integrate this 100K into our treasury. And this will be a significant help for us. Also, for the inventories and the stock we have, the numbers are still around 280K. By the time I plan to reduce the amount of inventories of stock, because there is no reason to maintain high level of stocks, because as I said previously, we don't buy any more equipment, we lease them. So since you lease equipment, except for the spare, you don't need to have huge stock or inventories. And this has an indirect cost because this is equipment you have bought and you don't use it. So in that case, the idea to reduce the stocks and to make sure it is optimized. And by next year, I plan to reduce significantly also this part for the financial side. And as I mentioned this morning, we will redeploy some brocade equipment on the edge, but we add also some Forsten equipment. Some other Forsten equipment pretty old, but some other one not that old. So the newer ones will be sold, and the very old one, either they will be donated, I would prefer that, to be scrapped. Now for the summary of the numbers. So this is just to show you the evolution by the time, because you can show all the numbers you want. It's important to have a trend to understand the numbers. So if you look at the net result, so in 2011, it's not on this slide, but it was negative, as I said, minus 350 something. 2012, positive of 50. 2013, positive 154. And 2004, positive of 169K euro. So it means that the business of France AX is running nicely and securely in terms of finances. Even if some members are not paying time, the company itself is still running. So the net result is slightly higher than the previous year. Just to give you more elements about the increase of sales, the increase of sales already identified are already increasing by 230K on first quarter next year. And so if you add all the possible new members we'll have, that's why I do expect to have significant increase for Franck SciX next year for the financial side. This is why I would like to make sure that we take the opportunity to increase the technical resources within the team and also to provide new services for the members. The net equity is equal to 0. Net equity for the French members, ce sont les capitaux propres. So net equity is, in fact, an important number for the people working on financial side. Till now, the global result of Franck SciX, when you summarize all the fourth year, was negative. And now, for the first year, it's positive. It means that the net equity equal to 0 is important because this is the first time that we meet. Sorry, I just missed the word l'équilibre. Yes, thank you. We reach the balance for the first time. And it's very important when you have to negotiate loans or whatever with financial guys. So this is pretty good news. And what we plan to do is that the net results combined on the fourth exercise now is positive, but very slightly positive. But we know that we have done some sales since 30th of June and now. So the idea is to produce intermediate accounts before next year to show that to the banks and say, now we have significant positive accounts. So this is a strong argument to negotiate a loan. Because, of course, we'll have the numbers, but it's possible to produce intermediate accounts. And that's what we'll do to negotiate a loan. What we'll do also to consolidate Franck SciX, but was not possible on the very beginning, is that we have a social capital of €1. And it was myself putting on the table €1 when it was the creation of Franck SciX, and it was not a big issue. But by the time we realized that because of the increase of the company, whatever the results of the finance you can show off to the banks, they do not listen at what you say. The first thing is that they look at your social capital and say, you tell me you are a serious company and you have €1. So globally, what are doing the banks? I'm simplifying if there are some financial players in the room. They loan you the money you already have. So what I mean, they loan you the addition of your social capital plus your treasury so that they don't take any risk. Because in case you don't reimburse them, they know where to take the money. But we have some treasury around 180,000 K. 180K of treasury globally. So the bank tell you, okay, I can do a loan of this amount. And in fact, they could loan more if you add some social capital, but this is not our case. So what is possible in terms of administrative procedure is that with the agreement of Franck SciX board, we can consider that the benefits we have can be converted into social capital for the increase. So there are two ways to increase the capital. Either we ask to the members to give us some money to increase the capital, or preferred solution, we don't ask any efforts to the members to increase the capital. We say, okay, we have some small benefits for this year. We could say, instead of lower down the price like we have done last year, for instance, we say, okay, this amount could be administratively converted to social capital. And this is what I would like to do. And this is for the short term. So combined with the production of the new accounts plus increase of capitals, moving the benefits we have just right now into social capital, we will have a much more significant credibility with regard to the banks. And this is very important because it's not only to close the loan we have. This is just a matter of negotiating then with the vendors we have globally to buy our loan equipment, or even to negotiate ourselves delays for payment and so, which is not possible today. We have to pay with short delays. We cannot buy and acquire equipment paying 30 days delays. So it's a global way to work, and we need now a more consolidation within the accounts. So capital increase will be considered within the next few months, but on my side, next few weeks, because then it takes time between the time you set up the stuff and it's effective. So I can tell you that next week I will start to work on it. So global result positive, net equity equal to globally 0, cash stable, but as I mentioned, some variation in the cash, so needs to be optimized, and still loan to be reimbursed, and the amount of the loan. So the amount of the loan is decreasing. So you see that we are capable of reimbursing a lot every year. So the idea is not to say we are not capable to reimburse the loan, is to say I prefer to reimburse less, because anyway I'm able to reimburse the loan, but I would prefer to use part of the money to increase the organization itself, and then integrate the loan as any other items in the expenses. Do you have any questions? So for the details, you have the document that was shown on the website. I just forgot to mention one point, because I had one criticism in the mailing list 2 days ago by one member, and it was written project on the document. In fact, this word was not appropriate. It's not a draft document, it's a final document. Of course, we are not going to modify this document. So for the ones that have voted, this is a final document. It was written project, but we should have preferred to write not voted yet by the members. And in fact, of course, on the financial side, we won't modify anymore this document. This will be the document that will be finally published. But we should have written not yet voted by the members and not project. This is not a project document. Because someone said in the mailing list, I would have preferred to vote for a final document. This is a final document. So sorry about the misunderstanding, because the word project mentions document. This is not a draft document. So for the ones that have voted, they will not have to vote on the final document. This was the final one. And for the members that were wondering to have the final version today, this is the version.
Okay, if you have questions in French, do not hesitate.
So for the people that didn't vote, they still have some time to vote today, because the vote will be closed only this afternoon. So for the ones that didn't vote and that do not have any electronic device, we can help you to vote through a laptop or whatever, so then you can make sure you did vote. We did reach the quorum already, so we know how many members have voted yet, but of course we don't know the results. But we only know that the quorum has been reached for the vote. So whatever the result of the vote, it will be valid. And in case of equal numbers in the vote, it means that we'll have to run a new vote. But we don't have the quorum in the room. This is also why we have this electronic vote, because in case of equal numbers today, we'll have to organize a new electronic vote. And this is the advantage of the solution, because the quorum is 52 members voting. And I think that today we have around 40 members in the room that have the capability to vote. So it means that in case of equal numbers, we are not enough to vote by hand. So we will organize then additional vote, but I hope that it will not be the case. But we'll see.